What's up, guys? Tyler here, gaming hard. Welcome back to I Must Play Dark Souls. We ended the last video after completing the depths area, getting the large ember and all that. I'm pointing to the Valley of the Drakes down there, which we'll be going in there in just a little bit. But we completed the depths, we picked up the large ember, did all that stuff, and right before we ended, we picked up this, the Grass Crest Shield. Blocks 95% of physical, it blocks 70% of fire. The item description reads, Old Medium Metal Shield of Unknown Origin. The Grass Crest Shield is slightly imbued with magic, which slightly speeds stamina recovery. So really not much there. The shield does speed your stamina recovery just a little bit, but not anywhere near, say, what some Green Blossom or the Chloranthy Ring would do. What we're doing right now is we are headed over to open up the Watchtower basement. For that, you're going to need this key. It reads, Key to the basement of the Watchtower in the Undead Burg. The basement of the Watchtower forms a stone cell. There are rumors of a hero turned hollow who was locked away by a dear friend for his own good, of course. And, of course, who they are talking about is Havel. And we are going to go over here and open up the basement of the Watchtower. So, we may kill Havel or whoever it is in Hovels Armor, and obtain Hovels Ring. As I'm planning to wear slightly heavy armor throughout this playthrough, so Hovels Ring can be a big help as it boosts your maximum equip load. So it's a real big deal for those strength builds, for that heavy armor. Of course, now, we'll call this guy Havel here, and, we'll call him that just for the sake of something to call him. Now, Havel here hits hard. Hard. And he can seem kind of tough, especially on your very first playthrough. The very first time I came into this Watchtower basement and got hit by one of those fucking two-handed overhead strikes from that dragon tooth. I was like, oh my god, I was killed instantly, you know? But actually, pretty easy to avoid for the most part. You can pretty much just, like, step back. You don't even have to actually press circle to do a back step. All you really have to do is just kind of keep your distance and then go in and get a couple strikes when you can, whenever he's recovering from doing one of those big two-handed overhead strikes. So we picked up Hobbles Ring here, and we're going to take off the Wolf Ring. Wolf Ring doesn't have much of a description. One of the special rings granted to the Four Knights of Gwyn. The Wolf Ring belonged to Artorias. Artorias had an unbendable will of steel and was unmatched with the Greatsword. Now we're replacing that with Hovels Ring. And this ring was named after Havel the Rock, Lord Gwyn's old battlefield compatriot. Hovel's men wore the ring to express their faith, or express faith in their leader, and to carry a heavier load. And I think that that ring and that description right there is the reason for some of the speculation that the guy here in the Watchtower basement actually may not be Havel. Because the description of the ring says that the ring was worn by his men, to express faith in their leaders. So it wouldn't make a lot of sense that Havel would be wearing that ring himself, unless he was just, you know, egomaniacal, which is entirely possible, because it's obviously also speculated by many that he took part in a rebellion against the gods. And a lot of this speculation comes from finding an occult club amongst his gear in Anor Londo, and occult weapons were used to hunt the gods. Now, as for who locked up Havel in the Watchtower basement, or who locked up one of Hobbles' men and then spread rumors that it was indeed Havel in the basement, that is totally up to theory and speculation on the part of the player also, just like most of the lore and things in this game. I mean, obviously, other than the things that are factual, things that we know for a fact. Who could it be? I've always thought maybe Oswald. As it's been theorized that Velka may have had something to do with that rebellion against the gods. And Oswald is obviously heavily involved with Velka, as she is the goddess of sin, and all sin is Oswald's domain, not to mention he wears the mask of Velka. But, you know, it's all up to theory and speculation, and I usually like to leave the lore theorizing to those smarter than I am. But, just something interesting to touch on. I've got these long videos, and I gotta talk about something. So, anyhow, moving on from these item descriptions and stuff like that, which is very interesting. Very interesting stuff. Getting to the gameplay here, we're taking on this hydra. Really, there's no real need to do this now. I don't particularly need any of the sorceries that Dusk has, and I am not ready to go and battle Sif yet. But the main reason I'm doing this is because I'm here. And it's not too hard. And we're gonna earn some souls for doing it. This is so annoying, man. This last head, dude, after you get all the heads severed, and then this last head of the hydra, does this shit and keeps pivoting to the left, and slamming its head down right over the drop-off, trying to entice you to run out after it and take an ill-fated swipe at it and wind up in the bottom of the fucking lake here. And we're just not gonna follow that. Gotta take our time, pick our attack, and now it's done. And we get a little dragon scale and the Dusk Crown Ring for our trouble. And I should have actually had the description of the Dusk Crown Ring ready to go for you guys. I'm sorry. And so, that's just gonna happen sometimes. This isn't my normal style to read all these item descriptions and stuff, but I do really enjoy it, and I do really find it very interesting. But obviously I'm going to make some mistakes from time to time. So, as you guys see there, I got into this little alcove area here. I quit and reloaded the game, and bam! Golden crystal golem here. And, of course, this crystal golem contains Dusk. What I didn't think about whenever I did this was how tough of a fight this actually is going to be without having the rusted iron ring and having my mobility impeded so much by being waist deep in water. Which this is precisely the reason that I backtracked back out of the depths, so I'm not dealing with this type of thing right here when I get to Blighttown. I'm not trying to battle barbarians waist deep in water. And actually, you know, I'm buffing my weapon with the magic damage here. But these crystal golems, they have pretty good magic resistance. But it does. I was doing a bit more damage with the buff on. So there's Dusk. Let's talk to her.
'Tis thou who rescueth me. Most gracious, I am deeply obliged. I am Dusk of Oolacile. I cometh from an age long before thine. I cannot stay here for long. So, before I disappear, allow me to ask one thing. My home, Oolacile, is the home of ancient sorceries. My hope is to pass this profound knowledge to thee, with thine approval. Would this be of assistance to thee? My heartfelt thanks. I am pleased beyond words. Then I shout, engrave my signature. If thou art in need, pray summon me from my signature. It seems that my time is done. May the great flames guide thee.
May the great flames guide thee. So we're going to go ahead and get headed back to the bonfire now. So this is going to be a bit of a backtrack here, because I am not quite ready to head up into the forest just yet. So we're going to head back to the bonfire and then move through the Valley of the Drakes and see what we come up with there and get that shortcut open back to Firelink Shrine through the new Londo Ruins and all that good stuff. And I actually just uploaded a video of me entering or beginning the DLC content with another character of mine who's level 66, I believe. Intelligence build. And, that, of course, what we just did there, rescuing Dusk from the Crystal Golem, is pertinent to accessing the DLC content. It's one of the requirements. You must rescue Dusk out of the Crystal Golem, as I just did. So you'll kill the Hydra, you'll go to that little alcove, you'll quit the game, you'll reload it, defeat the Crystal Golem, free Dusk, speak with her, and then later in the game, once you have placed the Lord Vessel and have gained access to the Duke's archives, you will find a Crystal Golem in one of the first rooms there. The first room actually after the bonfire, and if you kill him, he will drop a pendant, and then with that pendant in your inventory, just anywhere you come back to that alcove, there'll be a black void there. You walk up to it, a abyss-ridden hand, I think it's the Hand of Manus actually, comes out, grabs you, pulls you inside, and then you spawn up in Oolacile Sanctuary. And after lighting a bonfire, you're right in the middle of the first boss fight of the DLC. And I just uploaded that, so if that interests you, please check it out. But we will eventually be getting there with this character as well. Although I'll probably access the DLC pretty late in the game on this character. As the DLC is tough, man. The DLC is tough. For me, anyway. I think most of the bosses in the DLC are tougher than the bosses in the main game. I mean, really any of them. Everybody talks about Ornstein and Smo being so difficult, but really, I don't feel that way personally. I mean, Ornstein and Smo are difficult. I think the Four Kings are harder than Ornstein and Smo, for starters. And I think really all the bosses from the DLC are harder than any of the bosses from the main game. But I guess it just depends on your build and, you know. It just seems like the bosses of the DLC have a lot more significant defenses than the bosses in the main game. You know, almost every boss in the main game has something that they are just really weak to. But it just doesn't seem to be that way in the DLC. So we're doing some big damage on these drakes. And there's some other items over there on the other side of that bridge, but we will fuck with that shit later. I want to go ahead and get headed down here, and we'll take out one more mini-boss before we finish up with this video. This is going to be kind of a short one compared to the last few I have uploaded. But, it's just because I got to a nice transitional space, and it was just a good time to stop the video. I was hoping he'd go over the cliff there. Oh, man! Of course, you guys can see I've switched to the Crystal Shield, as it blocks 80% of lightning damage. Here we are back. I just killed that first Drake, and I actually wanted to show this because he dropped some dragon scale. Pretty cool stuff if you are rocking a dragon weapon of some kind. The Moonlight Greatsword, the Drake Sword, anything like that. Dragon scale is what you're going to need to upgrade it. Calamite even has one, Obsidian Greatsword. You see, I dropped my shield there, and how much extra damage that lightning did, as opposed to when I blocked it straight up. Now, there's a little nook that not a lot of people here usually wind up noticing, but it's got a little humanity in it. But it's real easy just to run past it. So that is the really problematic Drake of the Valley of the Drakes because of his placement and having to fight him on that narrow ledge. Other than that, it's pretty easy to get through here. Our last obstacle is this Undead Dragon, and there's actually two of these in the game that you fight. One here and one in the Painted World. This Undead Dragon is guarding a very useful item, and that is the Dragon Crest shield. Now, this is another reason, guys, that it's good to come through this area before heading down into Blighttown. And another reason that I felt like I needed to backtrack out of the depths instead of just heading straight into Blighttown. Because you can come through here, you can get the Dragon Crest shield, and the Dragon Crest shield blocks 85% of fire damage. Now the Black Knight shield also blocks 95%. But that's kind of a somewhat rare drop from the Black Knights, and the likelihood that you will have wound up getting that in a drop before going to fight Quelaag on your first playthrough is very low. Although, with my character that's in the DLC right now, I actually did pick up the Black Knight shield in the Undead Bird very early on. So it is possible. Now, it's kind of annoying having to use a melee strategy. Against this undead dragon here, it is much easier to use a bow or cast spells at him, but we do not have that option, so we are having to employ a melee strategy here. This stuff will get you toxic, so it's a good idea to have some blooming purple moss clump on you. And it's a good idea to have that on you before heading down into Blighttown anyway. As for a shield, if you started with the bandit class or you've been down to depths beforehand, I would suggest using the spider shield here, as it has very good poison resistance. And your poison meter won't build so much if you're holding your shield up whenever you're submersed in this toxic purple liquid. Also, this dragon is guarding Astora's straight sword in addition to the Dragon Crest shield. And Astora's straight sword, I've never really used it before, so I can't really speak to how good it is. I know it's a unique weapon, so it probably takes Twinkling Titanite to upgrade it. It does divine damage. But I just haven't ever really seen people using it too much. And I've never used it personally, so I can't really speak to how good it is or bad it is. My gut tells me that it's probably not that great. Although, I don't know, it might be. I mean, it might be if you're a faith build. You know, it could be decent. But the other thing about unique weapons is you can only upgrade them so far. You know? So there's all those items. The item descriptions. I'll forego reading those because there's not too much to them. On the other side there, that ledge, that's where you can get Beatrices Armor, the witch that you summon. It's right across here if you go right instead of going left. But I believe the circumstances for that are, I don't know exactly what it takes to make that set appear. But I believe it is if you do not summon her for the Moonlight Butterfly boss fight. then the armor set will pop up there. I don't know. Somebody holler at me about that and let me know. So, creeping up on these infested barbarians here, as the wiki calls them. And to be clear, I am not heading in to Blighttown right here. What I am actually doing is I'm just clearing these infested barbarians, getting them out of my way, so I can get down here and pick up the key to the new Londo Ruins. And then I can go and get the shortcut open back up to Firelink Shrine, and we will go ahead and end the video right there at that bonfire. And then when we come back next time with the next video, we'll be returning to the Undead Burg and getting the Rusted Iron Ring. And then, after that, after returning to the Undead Burg, I'm sorry, not the Undead Burg, the Undead Asylum. Fuck, what's wrong with me? After returning to the Undead Asylum and getting the Rusted Iron Ring, then we will be ready to go into Blighttown. Now, which way I will actually go in there, I was really leaning towards going in through the Valley of the Drakes, but the more and more I think about it, I'm just going to miss a really big chunk of Blighttown, and it's going to be inconvenient to backtrack to it later on, so I probably will wind up going back down to the depths and going into Blighttown that way. However, I will probably not record the trip from Firelink Shrine all the way back down to the depths. Actually, you know what? It's not that long of a trip. I want to use the shortcuts. Fuck it. I'm going to make y'all watch it. So we got the key to New Londo Ruins here. Let's give this a read, because this does have some good stuff in it. Key to the New Londo Ruins. Key to the iron bars separating the ruins of New Londo and Drake Valley. The ruins of New Londo were blocked off, for the cursed ghost posed a danger to life and spirit, and the legends speak of a terrible dark which was sealed away. And dark, it's important to note there, is capitalized, as if it were speaking of a god or an entity of some kind. A terrible dark. So obviously what they're talking about there is the spread of the abyss, right? And the three sealers of New Londo who flooded New Londo out to contain the dark wraiths and contain the spread of the abyss, as it was, you know, threatening Lordran, just as Oolacile had so long ago. But obviously, the Chosen Undead put an end to the spread of the abyss there. The Chosen Undead, unfortunately, wasn't around for the flooding of New Londo. Although I don't see why he couldn't be. The flow of time is convoluted. Give us another DLC, FromSoft. Let's go back and find out that the sealers flooding New Londo was all a lie. To hide the fact that it was actually done by the chosen undead. I want to go back and pull the lever, FromSoft. I want to go back and pull the lever. So anyway, here is where we are going to end the video. First, let's level a little bit. Bump attunement. And that will get us an extra attunement slot. Also, a little bit of bite. As we haven't leveled that in a while. And stand up here, and here's what I'd like to do. We're getting this build together here. Starting to give you guys an idea now. Equip the Pyromancy Flame in the right hand, wand in the left hand. Let's attune combustion here. So we got our sword, our shield, our flame, our wand. So we can spit fire with the right, bust out the left, the wand, buff our weapon. And we've got fire damage, physical damage, magic damage. Hell yeah. It's fucking really coming together now. I'm starting to like this. Anyway, guys, if you like this, like, comment, subscribe. As always, have a good one. Keep on gaming hard.